All right, we will get started. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nick Redden. I'm Vice President with ATC, and I sit on the Innovation and Technology side of the house. So thank you all for joining. We appreciate you being here. Today is our Q&A session focused on safe transformations, which is one of the practices that we do quite a bit in, as I'm sure you're all aware, which is why you're here. But on the other side of our house, we also do quite a few different things. Some of the things we do are around Kubernetes, cloud transformation, robotic process automation, blockchain development. We operate in a lot of different spheres of technology, helping to disrupt the status quo within our customers and within those that are really trying to compete better with technology. If you or your company find yourself in that situation, I would personally love to talk to you and discuss more what we could do for you, or just even help you ideate on what is out there technology-wise and how it may be able to affect your enterprise. But once again, thank you for joining. If you do have any questions, feel free to submit those questions through the chat window, and we'll do our best to address them. So the actual host of this and leading this session is Parag Bakre. Parag is our Global Director of Delivery for ATC, and he's an SPC and also the head of our SAFE practice. So with that,
Hello everyone, this is Parag. So what questions do you guys have regarding SAFE or transformation in general, like anything related to agile transformation going on in your organization, tools, etc. Feel free to ask those questions.
so I do have a couple that have come in so far, actually, now that I'm pulling up the list. So we'll start with what we got here. Hold on here, Parag. Let me get through this one window. It says, I've got my SA certification and understand the benefits of implementing SAFE in our company. What is a best way of getting the discussion related to SAFE implementation started in our organization?
Sure, good question. And we come across this people complete their SAFE certification, and any question they have got is like, now that I've got my certificate in hand, what should I do next, right? And your organization is in SAFE journey. In some cases, in organizations, they don't even know about SAFE. In some organizations, they know about SAFE, but they are not doing anything about SAFE. And in some cases, they have started with some kind of transformation, but it's still work in progress, right? They're still not officially implemented completely. So depending on where you are, I think one of the thing is you need to know who the people you will be working. And one thing that I've said is like you need to have a guiding coalition with you, right? So you need support. This is a massive transformation. Just keep that in. You cannot do this entire transformation on your own. So what you need to do is like figure out like who are the most influential people in the organization, whether they are like official leaders or someone that people follow, right? Role models for the people, and see if they are passionate about implementing SAFE, right? Discuss what are the benefits of SAFE with them and see if they feel like they want to take it forward. You need to grow that support within your organization, and then form a group who will help you drive the transformation in your organization. Now you can be in forefront of it, or you can just be a part of that group and let somebody else lead that, right? So that is the best way forward in terms of implementation. Now keep in mind, this is not like one or two meetings that will help you get through it, right? You need to create a lot of you need to create a different culture organization where people start considering alternate way of doing work, and it's going to take time. And you need to form this group, start talking with people, share a lot of information related to SAFE, do some presentations, talk about SAFE community, SAFE. There is a website for scaledagileFramework.com, right? You can pull some material from there, share it with people, influence them, and then actually start talking with your leaders in terms of actually getting support to start implementing it. And one thing you can always keep in mind, there are Scaled Agile partners out there to help you. ATC is gold partner with Scaled Agile, and we are always here to help you out, right? Whether you need some information from us, whether you want us to join one of your meetings and talk to people, help you influence people, we are always there to help you out with it. Yep. I hope that answered the question.
Yep. All right. Well, here we got another A couple questions. One says, I'm registered for this coming weekend for the Leading Safe course. What is the instructor's name and what do you suggest to be better prepared for the class?
Well, so let me see, because we have multiple classes going on this weekend, but ideally you should have got email with the information about the instructor. And in case you have not got the email, please reach out to the training advisor that you work with. And I'm going to share your information as well with the training advisor, that they can reach out to you and provide you with the necessary information. But the instructor name should be on the confirmation email that was sent. Also on the confirmation email, you will find the preparation that needs to be done. And basically, you don't need to prepare too much for the class. Introduction will cover most of the part, like, what is going to be covered in the class. So the first 1 hour in the class will prepare for rest of the class. However, there are some videos that are shared in the confirmation email. And so if you're able to go through those videos, that will help you prepare. There is a website, scaleagileframework.com, which has got all the content about Scaled Agile Framework. It's up to you completely now. If you want to go and check out that website yourself, you're always feel free to do that. But in case, like, you don't get a chance, don't forget about it. It will be covered in the class. Okay, so one of the response says from Fabian, it was not on the confirmation email. We'll just have the training advisor reach out to you and provide you with all the information that you need.
Okay, so we got another question. I've heard of situations where people took the test right after the classes and passed. Are we going to be doing the same?
Well, so it's really up to you, basically, whether you want to take the test right after the class or you want to prepare and take the test. My recommendation would be you better prepare for the test before you take the actual test. And so once you complete a class, you will get access to two things. One is practice test, which is like unlimited number of which will give you unlimited number of attempts, right? So you can take practice tests as many times as you want. During the practice test, every attempt you take, few questions in the test will change, and that will give you a good idea about what the actual test is going to look like. And once you get comfortable with the practice test, once you start passing in the practice test, my recommendation would be you take the actual test after that. As far as the actual test is concerned, you will get 30-day window after the training is completed to take the test. It's an online test, so you can take it anytime you want to take it. However, one thing I would suggest though is never ever go for the actual test if you don't pass in the practice test.
Great. And then we've got a similar question. From exam point of view, where should preparation start with? What are all the things that needed to be referred?
Sure, and I'm not sure if you already attended the class. However, you do get student's workbook. If you have already attended the class, you should have it. Or if you're about to attend the class, you will get a student access to student's workbook, and that will give you majority of the information. But there is a website from Scaled Agile called as scaledagileframework.com, and it has got all the content. I think the best way of navigating through the Scaled Agile framework.com website is like there is a diagram for the safe, like the full configuration, and it's an interactive diagram. So any icon or text that is on the diagram, if you want to understand more about it, you can just click on it and it will take you to the content. It will give you more explanation about what it is, what are the things that are related to it, and then there are further clickable links on it. So you can follow through that. I think that is all you need to prepare. However, during the class, throughout the course, the instructor will let you know like what are the important things that you can focus on from the exam standpoint.
Great. And there's another one. After taking the Leading Safe 5.0, Is it needed or advisable to take the Safe Agile, Safe Scrum Master 5.0, or is it basically the same thing? And then as a secondary, where do we get the pre-test sessions?
Okay, let me answer that first question. So the Safe Agilist certification, it's for the people or the leaders, right? The proactive thinkers in the organization. That course help you understand what it takes to implement SAFe in your organization. It teaches you certain leadership aspects as well as it gives you complete picture of what SAFe transformation look like and what your role in that transformation would be. The other courses are more role-based courses. For example, the POPM course is for the owner, product managers. The Safe Scrum Master course is for the Scrum Masters. There is Safe for Team course that is for the Agile teams in the Safe framework. So those courses will give you more detail in terms of what it means for that particular role in the scaled Agile framework. How do they go about operating in that kind of environment? So yes, those courses are definitely going to help perform those specific roles. And so if you want to get into details, those are the certification courses that you should be doing. And Nick, can you help me with the second question again?
Oh. Yeah, sorry. The second question was, where do we get the pre-test sessions?
So the pre-test session, I'm assuming you're talking about the session before the actual test. And is it about the practice test? I think that's what I'm assuming. So once you complete a class on the Scaled Agile community platform, you will get access to the practice test. But that happens only after you complete those the entire course, right? The 2-day course. And upon completion, we will mark your attendance, and only after marking that attendance, you get access to the practice test and the actual test.
Great. Then we have a question from Mark Casey. So Mark, I'm going to unmute you and allow you to ask your question. Go ahead. Oop, did it do it?
Hello. Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Okay, Mark, you should be able.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. How's that?
Yeah.
All right. So when I signed up for the class, I had questioned which one I should take, and others may be on here as well. I'm already a certified Scrum Master and have been a Scrum Master for probably about 10 years now. Also, I'm an Agile coach. When I asked really which specific class to take, they were directing me this one that we're talking about. But are you saying, Parag, that it would have been better for me to have taken a Scrum Master specific SAFe course over this?
Well, it really depends. I won't say like, one way or other is right. So it really depends on what role you want to play, right, in your organization. So the Leading Safe course is more of a leadership course. It teaches you some leadership aspects that are required for successful implementation of Safe in your organization. So some Scrum Masters, they come to us saying, hey, my organization is not implementing Safe, right? Or we are halfway through, and I think I can contribute more, or I can initiate the Safe transformation in my organization. And in order to do that, I need to understand the big picture, right? So I want to understand what all is involved to be successful in that environment, and or to take it forward in the entire organization, right? So for that purpose, I think Leading Safe course is right. But there are some people who come to us saying, hey, I don't care about anything else, right? I only want to focus on my role. I just want to focus on being a Scrum Master. I don't want to I don't want to focus on other aspects like the leadership aspects, like the entire big picture. So for them, I think the Scrum Master course is appropriate. My recommendation typically is like, it's always better to start on the top, understand the complete big picture, and then focus on your specific role. And some people prefer doing other way around as well, which is not wrong. But if you ask me my honest opinion, I would say, yeah, do the Leading Safe course, understand the big picture, and then focus on specific role if need be. However, if you already have experience being a Scrum Master, I think you can still go for the Leading Safe class and not do the Safe Scrum Master course, The reason is like, at the end of the day, if you think about the Safe Scrum Master course, some of the content is again going to be same, right? It's going to help you understand what safe the scaled agile framework is and what it takes to operate in that framework, and then it will talk about what it means from the particular role perspective. So it really depends. If you are already experienced, you are taking a leading safe course, I think that should be good enough. And down the line, once you get comfortable, once you get the safe implementation up to certain stage in your organization, if you want, you can consider taking the Scrum Master course, or if you already have experience, you can in fact consider taking the Advanced Scrum Master course that is there under safe.
Okay, thank you
So
much.
if you think about yeah, if you think about this implementation, the roadmap that Scaled Agile has recommended, like Scaled Agile has got two roadmaps, right, for implementation. One is like, that your organization want to implement safe completely, right? You want to go full blown with safe implementation. So there is an exhaustive roadmap that is out there. However, SAFe also has a quick start guide, right? So basically, this call it as a quick start for SAFe. And what they recommend is like the teams actually take SAFe for team course, which actually just teach them basics about SAFe and how to operate in that environment. And then they suggest that you can go with the transformation. So basically, leading safe kind of gives you big picture. It gives you it shows you some aspects of leadership, and it help you actually play greater role in the transformation than just focusing on a specific role.
Great. All right, we've got another question. So as a Scrum Master, which of these certifications is better? The leading safe or safe Scrum Master? Because I'm a current Scrum Master and I'm working in a safe environment, but I want to know which certification will help me more.
So again, as I said, it really depends. If you just want to focus on your role and not worry about other things, I think you can go for the Safe Scrum Master certification. But if you want to play a greater role and you want to have a greater understanding of the overall framework and see what are the other areas where that you can influence, how do you play a greater role in that entire transformation that is going on in your organization, I think the leading safe course would be a starting point. Now, keep one thing in mind, a lot of organizations have implemented SAFe, or they're actually implementing SAFe. And the entire Scaled Agile framework, it's a massive framework, right? So organizations are going to face challenge, right? There are going to be things that might go wrong in the transformation. And they are going to need proactive thinkers, like, leaders in the organization, formal or informal leaders, to help them in terms of keeping the momentum going, right? Taking corrective actions, right? Changing based on the lessons that are learned from the previous implementations. And there is going to be requirement for having a lot of leaders, thought leaders in the organization. So you will have opportunity to play a greater role than just focusing on specific role. But again, it's up to your personal requirement. You need to decide, which direction you want to go in.
All right, next one is the Safe POPM certification valid for life?
Well, no, none of the safe certification is, I mean, when I say it's not valid for life, basically there is a yearly renewal that needs to happen. And for that yearly renewal, you don't need to go for a test. There is a renewal fee that you need to pay every year. And once that fee is paid, your certificate is renewed. So whether it's valid for life, yeah, I mean, you don't need to take a test to keep it valid, but you need to pay a renewal fee every year to
Great. All right, next one. After taking the leading safe class and in order to get the RTE certification, what is the education path you'll recommend to achieve the RTE certification?
Well, so the RTE certification, there is a course that is specifically focusing on the release train engineer role. And I mean, anybody that is wanting to become RT, not necessary that you need to take the course. Again, you have taken leading safe course, right? So maybe you want to experience the safe transformation for some time before you actually go for a specific RT role. However, if you feel that you are ready and you actually want to focus on that specific role, there is a course for RTE, and so you can go through that course and get certified as a RTE, safe RTE. So that course will cover anything that is required to understand that role. So again, there is some recommendation in terms of certain type of experience you need to have. Obviously, you need to understand Scrum, you need to understand basics of Agile. They assume that, but other than that, whatever is required to play RT role is covered in that course.
Okay. I'm going to combine kind of two questions because they're asking the same thing, Parag. One says, are you guys hiring for SBC trainers, and what is the process to become one with ATC? And then a similar question, just more general, if one wanted to become a safe trainer, how would one go about it?
So yeah, I think I will start with that second question because it talks about how do you become a trainer, and then I will get into I will answer the question how to become a trainer with ATC. So to become a safe trainer, you need to attend a 4-day SPC class, and after completion of those 4-day SPC class, there is a exam that you need to pass to get certified. And so once you are certified as a SPC, you are eligible to do trainings, but there is one more caveat that Scaled Agile has added. Is like they call it as enablement process. So let's say, for example, after becoming a SPC, you want to teach a leading safe class. And so in order to teach a leading safe class, you have to do enablement for leading safe, where there is a test that is involved for the trainer to teach that class. And so once you take that test and pass the test, then you can officially do as many leading safe classes as you want. So that is a process for becoming a trainer and teaching a course. Now, in order to become a trainer with ATC, we do have a hiring process. And I mean, basically, one thing that we want to make sure is like on our end, we do have certain values as a company that we follow to provide best experience for our training participants during the class. And in order to provide that experience, we want to make sure that we select trainers that align with our values. So that is the reason we put them through the hiring process. And so once they clear that entire hiring process, they can become trainer with ATC. One thing that I would say here though, ATC as a company, we focus on long-term relationship. So typically our trainers, we only engage with them in case they want to do training with us on long-term basis. Because what we have experienced over the years is like for any trainer to be successful, being a good trainer, there is going to be a lot of learning that the trainer will have to go through. There is a lot of feedback the trainer will have to go through, and that feedback is not going to come by just doing 1 or 2 classes. The trainer will have to be like a co-trainer with somebody, see their style of teaching, learn from that style of teaching, and after having that experience, after doing a lot of those trainings, they will be ready to do that training on their own. Now every trainer has got a different style of teaching. Some people follow they prefer to be an instructor, some people prefer to be a coach, and so they need to strike a balance somewhere, right? So depending on the requirement for teach a particular course of safe, they need to adopt a certain style of teaching. And so once they do that, I think they will be, they will qualify for doing training with ATC.
Thanks, Parag. All right. A good question here from Gopal Sami. Hope I said that correctly. Do you suggest any metrics to measure how an organization is doing after a year into implementing Safe Agile?
Well, that's a very good question. And there are some metrics that Scaled Agile has shared, and they call it as Agility Health Radar. And there is a company that has come up with those metrics that Scaled Agile has partnered with. And so what they allow you to do, and again, those metrics, etc., those are present on the scaledagileFramework.com as well. You will find a reference over there. And in case you need help in terms of doing that assessment in your organization, you can also engage with ATC. You can bring us in terms of doing that assessment. However, one thing that I want to say, doing assessment is not going to be enough, right? So what you need to do in your organization is like you need to get funding for for implementing the actions that are required after that assessment is done. We have seen a lot of companies come to us to do the assessment. They do the assessment, we share the results, but they don't have a commitment to take actions based on the finding of that result. So if your organization is not going to do anything based on the assessment, I would recommend, talking to people, making sure that they are committed. The actions that need to be performed after the assessment is done, those there is a funding for taking those actions, right? So sometimes you need to implement newer tools. Sometimes you need a coach on your team, right? Sometimes you just need some external team to show you how to operate in that particular environment. So there are going to be a lot of different ways in which you can go about taking those corrective actions, implementation actions. And for that, you are going to need some funding. So preparing two things, right? One is getting everybody ready to go through the assessment is one thing, but the other thing that you need to make sure is there is to actually fund that process right after the assessment is done, to take those corrective actions and ensure that funding, or if you're not the one who has control over that funding, maybe talking to people who have control over there, right? Or having those people talk to us, and we can help you convince those people as well, like we can help you influence those people. But the important aspect is like you should be ready to take action. You should not just do assessment just for sake of doing it.
Okay. Question from Ruben. If we do not recertify at the end of a year, can we still recertify 2 to 3 years later? Is that okay?
Well, that should be okay, but just keep one thing in mind though. Scaled Agile framework keeps evolving, right? Scaled Agile started as version 1.0, and then they are at version 5.0 now. And even throughout this process, they also had sub versions, right? So there was SAFe 4.0, then 4.5, 4.6 before they moved to 5.0. So whenever they change the version, they require all the people to go through the test, right? So and again, to upgrade your version, that test is not paid; it's free of cost typically. And basically, after you take the test, your version of your certificate is upgraded. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind, you need to treat these two things as separate, right? Renewal is separate and the version upgrade is separate. So even if you upgrade your certification, it's still going to expire at the end of 1 year. And so at that point of time, you will have to renew it. Now, so if you don't renew it, if you don't upgrade your version, right, if you don't take the test, you are 4 or 5 years down the line. Now, we have not seen that situation so far, anybody doing that so far. But if that has to happen, I think at that point of time, what we would suggest is please check with Scaled Agile, or you can get back to us and we can help you get in touch with the right people on the Scaled Agile side to see what the process is going to look like at that point of time. So we don't know where Scaled Agile is going to be from 4 years from now, and what are the things that will be involved in terms of getting for the recertification right at that point of time. The best approach, the alternate approach would be to just go through the training for that latest version, right, and then get the certification again. But anything other than that, I think we'll have to do that assessment at that point of time.
Okay. Next question from the Q&A window. We've got a few more there. What all roles can I apply for based on SAFe 5 Agilist?
Well, I think you can apply for any role in the organization. Basically, the SAFe Agilist course kind of certify that you understand what it takes to implement SAFe in the organization, and you also understand what all different parts are there, right? What all different moving parts are there in the Scaled Agile framework. So it tells others that you can play a leadership role with safe transformation as well as safe implementation, and you can literally perform any role in the organization. However, if there is a specific requirement for a job to have a specific certification, then you need to have that certification. But if the job is not stating up a specific requirement, you can literally apply for any role in the organization.
Okay, next question. How is PMI ACP different than the SAFE course?
Well, it's a different organization, I would say, and it is talking about a different process altogether. As far as the SAFE course is concerned, it is focused on lean and agile practices, and it is also focused on the SAFE framework. Right, SAFE is a framework which is proprietary framework from Scaled Agile, and it teaches you how to operate when you implement that framework in your organization. PMI is more of a project management office, right? So the project of management office has got project managers, and the certification that those guys need, that is covered by PMI. And so a lot of things might overlap, right? A lot of things, like even if you consider different models, right? Safe, less, Scrum at scale, or even waterfall, for that reason there could be one or two aspects which might be common across these things. But to answer your question, like PMI is a different organization and Scaled Agile is a different organization, and Scaled Agile has got SAFE as a framework. So if you're implementing SAFE, I think you need to get certified for SAFE.
All right, next question. I was told that we'll be getting sample questions before we attempt the exam. When will we be getting these questions?
Well, so the sample questions, once you complete the course in the Scaled Agile community platform, there is going to be a listing for a practice test, and that practice test has got those questions. So if you go through the practice test, it will give you idea about how the questions are going to look like in the actual exam, and that is what it refers to, right? So you can take the practice test as many times as you want, and with every attempt, few questions in that practice test are going to change. They are not going to change all the questions. Some questions might repeat, but some questions in that practice test will change, right? So there's like 20-30% of your questions will change every time you attempt the practice test, and so that practice test will have those sample questions.
Okay, let's see here. What tool stack should we have in the organization during SAFE transformation to be successful?
Well, that's a good question, and the reason I'm saying, like, that's really a good question, because a lot of organizations, there are plenty of tools, and what we've seen is, like, sometimes the organizations already have tools that they require to implement SAFE. They just need to reconfigure those tools in a different way, and some organizations, they don't have tools. So what we would suggest is, in terms of us just giving a generic answer now, we are partnered with a lot of tooling companies. Like if you ask me honestly, for SAFE, we would recommend a tool called as Target Process. We are partnered with that tooling company, and we have got expertise in implementing that tool from SAFE perspective. But there are other tools as well, competing tools that you might have already, or maybe it might fit better for your organization to implement a different tool based on your situation. So what we would suggest is, like, have some tool assessment done in your organization. Have some expert take a look at the tooling stack that you've got in your organization, and then understand those gaps and then implement the tools. Now, ATC as a company, we also help do tool assessment. So if you don't have anybody that you can work with, you can always reach out to us, and we can help you do that tool assessment in your organization and understand whether or not you have got a tool stack that is required to support the SAFE implementation.
Yeah, and just for a second on the Target Process tool that we implement for companies, it's a really good tool, very easy to use. It supports virtual PI planning, which, in today's day and age with everything that we're dealing with, a lot of companies have really taken advantage of. So if you hadn't had a chance or you want to see more about that, feel free to let us know. We can help you with that. Okay, next question. was I took your SAFe training and to kind of get a taste of it for our organization, and wanted to know if we want to get our team trained, do you do private training classes? And what does that look like?
Yes, we do private training classes, and I mean, that's a really good question, just because a lot of time people think that, SAFe is just a framework, right? So if you understand a framework, you can actually go about implementing it. However, there are a lot of moving parts in that framework, and it's always good to have people go through the training. So what the training will help do is, like, even if your team don't want to get certified, I would recommend they should still go through the training, because what that training help do is get everybody on the same page, right? So everybody is aligned, they are ready for that implementation, and so that way the chances of that implementation being successful are higher. And so training is integral part of any implementation or transformation. Now, if you realize that, okay, you want to go for SAFe transformation, or want to, take it further, right, advance with your transformation, you can reach out to us. You can work with the training advisor that you work with. You can let them know that your organization requires a private class, and we can help you understand what all private classes your organization should go through depending on the situation of your organization. Yeah, so but if your organization has not implemented SAFe, if people are not aware of it, I would recommend talk to the leaders in your organization and try to get them ready for going through a leading SAFe course, because that is a course that the leadership team is going to go through for sure. And you can have conversation, you can reach out to us through the training advisor that you work with, or in case you want to submit a direct inquiry, you can always go to our website and submit an inquiry there. Yeah, so you have multiple ways in which you can reach out to us. Also, we do have an email ID called as support@american-technology.net. So if you want to send an inquiry on that email ID, you can always submit an inquiry there. We also have an email ID from which you got a confirmation email, which is trainings@american-technology.net. And you can respond back on that email, and also, also indicate that your organization is interested in doing a private course, and we'll get in touch with you and we'll talk through the process with you.
Great. Is there an advised tool in terms of Kanban and Jira which could bring more value with SAFe teams, and how can you choose, what would make you choose which from which?
Well, so when it comes to the application lifecycle management tool, right? So Kanban and Jira, I would call them as application lifecycle management tool. And there are a couple of things that you need to keep in mind with those tools. One thing is, like, the tool should create a massive transparency for you. So it should provide you with graphs, dashboards, a lot of data, right, to understand where you stand in that particular moment with your SAFe transformation. The other thing is, like, it should be easy to use kind of tool, right? So you should not have to spend a lot of time training people on how to use a tool, and people should not struggle in terms of using the tool. So based on our experience, to be honest, after assessing a lot of different tools, our recommendation is Target Process as a tool, which is very easy to use. It provides you complete big picture. It helps you understand the information around, like, how the implementation is going on at a high level as well as at a very detailed level, right? You can drill down at a detailed level. Plus, it helps you manage your entire team or entire work in one place. And it's a very interactive tool. So basically, you can start at the top and drill down to whatever level of detail you want to drill down to, right? It offers a lot of integration with other tools. And so something like that is what you require in your organization. Now, what if your organization have an existing tool? Well, we can implement some workarounds. We can implement some, I would say, integrations with that tool. But the more workarounds you implement, the more difficult it is going to become to implement that. So if you get a platform that help you do all the work in one place, I think nothing like it, right? So it's a lot more easier to use. The data is right there. You have got all the information to understand if there are issues that are going on that you need to address, or it might also tell you what are the things that are really going well in the transformation. So if you need help in terms of assessing the tooling suite that you have got and see whether or not it will work, what it means from the safe perspective, feel free to reach out to us and we can help do assessment around tools.
Great. That is all of our questions, Parag.
Awesome.
So everyone, thank you. If anybody wants to submit one last question or has a situation that they're curious about, give you a couple seconds, but we're at the end of our questions, but we do want to thank everybody for your attendance. We do appreciate it. We know you're taking time out of your day for this. We do these every month. Sometimes we have a theme. Sometimes we just take a lot of questions like we did today. But we're hoping that this will add value to you and to what you're trying to do, not only in your job, but in your career as well. If you do have questions in the meantime about anything else that pops up or any situation that comes up, you can always reach out to our training advisors, or you can go to our website. We have a chat window that is managed live, so you're able to talk with somebody instantly, and they can direct you or help you get to the right person within the organization. So once again, we thank everybody for joining. Oh, we did have one last question pop in. So we'll go ahead and cover that. What is the cost of SPC and when is the next training?
Well, we as a company, we are not doing the SPC courses yet. I think we'll soon start doing those SPC courses, but there are other organizations who are doing those courses. The training fee might vary between $2,400 to $3,000, somewhere around that range.
Perfect. All right, and oh, there's another one. Also, what effect have you seen on salary in regards to having safe experience? That's a great question. That is one we get quite often. So that is very good because you want to know where your investment's going to go.
Well, so I don't know what exactly you are trying to ask, but based on what we have seen in the past, what I would say is like there are plenty of jobs nowadays. Like if the company is implementing SAFe, they want people who are already certified in SAFe, so that they don't need to worry about sending those people to the classes, right? So if you are already certified, you are obviously going to be qualified for a lot of more jobs than you would normally do without that certification. But as far as salary is concerned, it really depends on what location you are based in, right? What location that job is based in, like whether it's East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. So there is a different salary range. And it also depends on the size of organization. However, what we have seen is like the salaries for SAFe certified professional are comparatively higher than the salaries for non-certified professional in that particular location. And we don't have an exact metric. However, like for SAFe Agilis, if you are a leader in the organization, it's going to be in the range of 100K or higher, somewhere around that salary range. However, really depends on where you are located and what company you are working with. It really depends on that.
And that's a great example. So one of the things to keep in mind, anytime that relates to salary and increase in salary based on certifications, a lot of what goes into it is like Parag said, geography, because sometimes it's going to cost more to live in certain areas, so they're going to pay you more. But also what goes into it is years of experience, whether you're mid-career, early career, very experienced, late career, or entry level. Obviously, somebody that's more experienced and is switching jobs to another company that now has the certification is going to earn quite a bit more. So there's certain companies out there, everybody from FedEx to Accenture to USAA Insurance, depending on where you fall within that experience range and within the other technical capabilities that you bring to the table, the salary could be anywhere from 70,000 to 130,000, depending again on where you're at with experience and the competencies that you ultimately bring to the table that round your skills out. And it also, of course, depends on the demand that that company is seeing and the value that they individually are putting on those skills as well. So there's a lot that goes into it, more than just hey, I have this certification, how much more am I going to make? There's a lot of other pieces of it that have to kind of fall into place to hit that ultimate big number that, of course, everybody wants. And, whenever we get certified or whenever we spend time educating ourselves and investing that way. One more question I see. Organizations don't usually bring Scrum Masters in the safe environment unless at the begging of work delivery. How do you bring yourself to let your company see the value to bring a Scrum Master in from the conception or the beginning of a project?
Well, I think one of the best way, right, is like this example, I can see people making a wrong choice. And basically, if you start eliminating roles in the process, a lot of time companies think that, they can save some cost. And we have also seen where two people, one person play two different roles, right? So instead of having two people play two different roles, companies make one person play two different roles. And we have seen a Scrum role being performed by one person, like a Scrum Master and the product owner role. Now, it might sound like, you might save some cost in short run, but in long run, what happens is like, if the person is not able to do justice to one role or the other side is going to go down, right? So it's difficult to measure, but the best way of going about influencing people, right, who are making those decisions is either to see whether or not they have already gone through some kind of leadership course related to SAFe, and encourage them to go through the course, because during the course what we tell you is like we help you understand what are these different roles and why it is important, right, for that role to exist. That is one thing. The other thing is, as a colleague, as a friend, you can talk to those people. You can, help them understand the big picture, right? So the best way I would go about that discussion is like I always ask a question. Let's fast forward 6 months from now, right? Let's imagine where we want to be 6 months from now, and talk about the situation, right? It's a hypothetical situation, but it helps you understand what direction you are going in, right? So if I try to paint a picture where I want to be in 6 months from now, it answers that question immediately. Yeah. So when you implement scaled agile framework, one thing that you have to keep in mind, organization implement SAFe because they want to scale, they want to grow. They're not implementing SAFe because they just want to continue doing what they're doing now. Obviously they want to improve. And so what does that in growth means, right? How many more teams you are going to have? What are the things you need to do to grow? And obviously, in order to achieve that growth, you need to have those people in place. And so Scrum Master is one of those roles. So if you eliminate that role, what you're doing is like basically you're deciding not to grow. And basically sometimes you're deciding to rather scale down and not scale up. And then the entire question then boils down to, then why are you doing SAFe if you're not planning to grow, right? If you're not planning to scale up, there is no point in doing SAFe. So having those kind of conversation help other people understand not to make those mistakes, not to make those decisions that are going to prevent them from scaling up.
Another question just popped in, Parag. My observation is management talks about agile and safe, but in their mind they don't want to accept the way it is being implemented. They still want deadlines and deliveries based on waterfall. How do you deal with that? They feel that agile does not deliver fast.
And that is true, right? So if you think from the leader's perspective, what matters to them is delivery. And so they will take whatever it takes in their power to ensure that the delivery happens. And let me help you understand, right? Companies implement SAFe, and doesn't mean that, if you decide to implement SAFe, you are going to be successful. You need to preach those practices. You need to really make your process lean. Just by going through the training is not going to make you successful. There is a whole lot of cultural change that need to happen in organization to actually realize the benefit of safe transformation. And unless that cultural change is not taking place, the delivery is going to get impacted, right? The leaders are not going to see value. And the moment you hit failure, they are going to obviously think that this is not working for us, and they will want you to implement something else. And we have seen organizations doing that a lot. And the reason for this is basically there is lack of experience in terms of safe implementation in the organizations. And what we recommend in those situations is like work with a transformation partner, right? There are plenty of transformation partners out there similar to ATC. ATC is a gold transformation partner as well, and we have done a lot of implementation. So the advantage of working with a partner is like partners have seen these situations. They know what is causing failure and what causes a success, right? So they help you foresee a lot of those situations upfront and take care of those situations. One of that situation include helping understand leadership, what their role is in that transformation, and how they are going to realize the benefit of that transformation. So if your leaders understand what actions are going to result in those benefits, they would be more than willing to take those actions, right? But they need to see that. And so the partners have got experience, they've seen enough situations, there are plenty of case studies that they can bring to the table and help those leaders understand that, what are the actions they need to take from their side to see those benefits. Again, it's a massive cultural change. There is massive influence that is required in the organization. There are a lot of moving parts. So you definitely need a guiding coalition, a partner that can help you until like you start doing it on your own.
We got another question. Is it advisable to do more than a 2-week sprint or add days in the sprint after the sprint is supposed to be over in 2 weeks due to last minute changes that may cause a 1 or 2 days delay readiness before a demo?
Well, that's an interesting question. And we get a question a lot, right? A lot of people ask like, hey, why don't we do 3-week sprint, or why don't we do 4-week sprint? Our situation demand 4-week sprint. Again, I would say every organization is different. Your requirements are different. But understanding IT in general, right? Now I'm saying in general, again, there are going to be some specific situations in organization which might be different, right? Every business is different. But in general, in order for you to deliver a solution faster, value faster, you need to iterate more often, right? And you need to learn from those iterations. So every time you iterate, you have a learning session in between those two iterations. So you look back, you see what mistakes you made, and then you take care of those before you iterate again. So every iteration is going to help you deliver value faster, as well as better value to your customer. And so the shorter your iteration is, the better it is for you. Now, whether you should extend your sprint by a day, whether it's a good practice or carry it forward, basically sprint is just like a time box, I would say, right? So it doesn't really matter. So don't think of sprint as like, something that will prevent you from doing something. It's just a time box, right? So what you do is like you say that in this time box, this is a work that we are committing to, and this is a work that we are going to achieve. So if you're not able to achieve that work, that is okay. You can start your next time box, right? And accommodate that work that was left over in that next time box. Or if you want to expand your time box by a day, that's okay, as long as you're not making that a practice. We have seen organizations who extended their sprint from 2 week to 3 week for, they said, okay, we'll just do it for this sprint, right? And then they started adopting that as a practice. They started doing very frequent 3-week sprint. And so what was happening was like they were iterating less often, right? So they were not reflecting on their mistakes that as often as they should have. And so that's a bad practice. So if you think, take an example of companies like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., right? You guys know how fast they iterate, right? Sometimes they iterate within 3 days. Like every 3 days, like they commit to a work for next 3 days. They finish that work. They inspect what they did in those 3 days, and then they start their next iteration. So the shorter the iteration is, the better it is for you. But again, it really depends on the nature of business and where your organization is in terms of agile.
All right, next question. How do we handle conflict in a team while implementing SAFe, specifically when developers don't agree to pick up feature and story and interpersonal conflicts?
Well, that's a good question. And so basically what it tells me is like if there is a conflict. Now, one thing I would say, right, when you talk about an agile team, that team need to act as a unit, right? So if you have conflict within a team, if there are cultural differences, I think those need to be addressed by the leaders. At the end of the day, that team has to work as one team, and the team need to commit to the work, right? So when you say you're doing something in a sprint, basically it is assume that the entire team is okay with that direction. And so if there are differences, I think that is where your leaders need to pitch in and resolve those differences. And after resolving those differences, you can move forward with that. So if you're constantly seeing a situation where you're seeing a resistance from one group, maybe talk to the leader in that area, right? If the leader is not able to help you, talk to your leader, see who is a person that will help resolve that conflict. And a lot of time conflict happen based on personal interest as well. And so that personal interest might be tied to work, or it might not be tied to work. So the leader is in best position to understand that and resolve that conflict. Yeah, but you cannot live with the conflict. So if there is a conflicting situation that is going on, talk to your leaders, see if they are able to resolve. If they are not able to resolve, you need external help, external coach to help you resolve that situation, you can get in touch with those agile coaches, right? So they will help you in terms of understanding what is the root cause of that conflict. I think doing root cause analysis is the best way to move forward. But if you're not able to do that because of obvious situations in your organization, you can always get in touch with some of the external entities, coach, etc., and they can help you resolve those situations.
So a lot of the implementations that we've done, Parag, to get back on track, as I know very well. All right. That is the last. Oh wait, no, that's. I think there's one more here. Is it advisable to do more than a 2-week sprint or add days in the sprint after the sprint is supposed to be over in 2 weeks? The last changes. Oh wait, what is the expectation in terms of functionality in the agile safe world of tech leads? I think understanding their value can help build relationship with them too.
Let me go the question one more time and make sure I understand it. Just give me a moment. The question says,
Sure,
what is
you could hopefully see the window.
Yeah, what is the expectation in terms of functionality in the agile safe world of tech leads? I think the understanding of their value can help build relationship with them too. Well, so if you are actually implementing SAFe, one thing that you need to keep in mind that you have multiple roles in that framework, right? So if you look at the layer at the bottom that they have indicated, right, like the agile team level. So these teams, they work on delivering some value, and they need a lot of expert. They need some kind of help from the experts to deliver that work. So typically, there are two things that are important for any team to deliver the work. Basically, they need to have a flight path. That is what SAFe call it as, right? And what that flight path is, basically any support that is required to complete that work, that support has to be in place, and the tech leads, they act as that support, right? So that in case the teams are stuck, they can provide that support.
Parag, you're cutting out. Are you there?
Nick, I'm here. Not sure.
Okay, yeah, you cut out for probably about 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, so let me know if I'm cutting out again. Maybe it's a bad internet connection that I've got. However,
You're good.
However, what I would say is, like, when the agile teams commit to a work, right, in order for them to deliver that work, they need to have some kind of technical expertise, right? In case they are stuck with some technical issue. And those tech leads, they kind of act as mentor coach for those people to understand, what is the best way forward, right? To still continue with whatever they were supposed to continue doing and accomplish the goal of that particular iteration. So those tech leads, they help resolve issues, etc. Also, the team, before it commits to a work, there are certain things that need to be in place, right? And this tech leads can help you put those technical things in place. I can give you an example, right? Let's say a team need to work on a feature and deliver that feature to the customer. But in order to deliver that feature to the customer, there is some infrastructure that need to be in place, right? So the tech leads can help understand what that infrastructure is and how to get that infrastructure in place, whether it's server or expanding the capability of the server, or whether it's a cloud environment where you need to stand up few more resources in cloud. So they help you understand for your kind of work, what is that infrastructure that is going to be required, and help you, have that in place, so that when you are actually doing work, you don't need to worry about those aspects and still be able to deliver your work on time. So tech leads, they bring massive amount of experience and expertise to the team and help them achieve their goals.
Oh, we had one more question pop in. This is probably the last one as we're at the top of the hour. How long does it take Jira to generate a team's metrics and terms from a capacity velocity standpoint? I was told 10 sprints to effectively know and determine your team's full velocity workload.
Well, Jira as a tool, it will give you data day one, right? So the day one you start doing something, it will give you data. But in order for you to see some kind of trend, that's a subjective answer that I will give. But let's say, for example, if you have a same agile team and you want to see what kind of velocity they have got, or you want to see some kind of trend with those, with respect to those people, you need to determine like how long they have been working and what is the trend that you want to look at, right? And I'm going to give an analogy here. If you take an example of stock market, and for you to see how the stock is performing, you start getting data the day the company will go public, right? And you have data day one, but in order for you to make decision or take any action based on that data, you might want to see a trend for last maybe 1 month, 1 year. Really depends on what action you want to take and how long of a trend that you want to see before you take that action. So from tool standpoint, it will start generating data day one. Now it's your call, right? So for me, honestly, if you ask, like if I want to look at team's velocity, I will start looking at velocity after third sprint. So third sprint onwards, I'm going to start monitoring the velocity. Now, do I expect my team to deliver at the same velocity after third sprint? Maybe not, right? So there could be some hiccups, but then I will form my baseline saying, okay, end of sprint 3, this is a baseline, and we'll be working against that baseline, right? So we'll improve against that baseline, or we'll try to maintain that baseline. So we'll do everything in our power to stay at least at this particular level. Now, maybe 10 sprint down the line, I realized that, okay, now my baseline has changed and it has got worse. Maybe that might be the case, right? So I'll do root cause analysis, see if that is the situation, right? Is there anything that I can improve? And if there is something that I can improve to change my baseline, I will do that. But maybe the situation has changed and that is my new baseline now. So basically you can start looking at the data the moment you want. I think not getting hung up with data is important, right? So basically just use data as an input and not as a guideline, right? Or not to dictate a process. Just use it as an input to make better decisions. That's what I would suggest.
Great. All right. Well, once again, we thank everyone. Thank you for all your participation. Thank you for all the questions. We appreciate it. As I said, we do these monthly. Sometimes we have a topic that we talk with around safe and safe transformations. Other times we just do the straight Q&A like we did today, and there was a lot of great questions to last us throughout the hour. So again, we appreciate you taking time and spending it with us. Feel free to get a hold of us at any time. Like I said, you can reach us either through our website with our training advisors and to anybody else that has emailed you from the company, because we do sometimes send, keep everybody up to date with the different things that we're doing as well. So once again, we thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Please stay healthy. Please stay happy. Please take care of your families. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.